Well, my first E3 was before it was called E3 in Vegas. It's called CES, I think, or something. So
yes.
I think it's, what is it, the 11th E3 maybe? You know, don't quote me on that, but yeah. I only missed two, and that was when it was in Atlanta. That was when I was in a company called Scavenger, and we dropped, and I had to recover. But otherwise, it's been probably 11 years.
You had a pretty good run of doing the music for Hitman. How's how's Blood Money different from the other ones that you've done?
Well, I mean, with this one, they really tweaked the gameplay, and it feels more like a true sequel to Hitman 2 in that there is a lot of new things in this game. Hitman 1 and Hitman 2 was a huge step, and I feel Hitman 2 and Hitman 4, there's a huge step going up there. A lot of nice details in there, and it's really, I feel they really listen to the gamers on this one and try to perfect the Hitman experience, and it feels really smooth.
How do you approach doing music for a game like this? Do you actually get to play the game early and try to match it to that, or do you come up with a score and integrate it later?
Well, it's pretty different for each project, but for this one, Hitman Blood Money, I started working on the orchestral and the choir music pretty early, because we had to record that in Budapest. It was recorded with the 89-piece orchestra and a 60-piece choir, so it was a huge undertaking, lots of planning involved. Afterwards, we mixed it in Paris. So it took us quite a while to create the choir orchestral music. And so that's about a little more than half of the score. And then the electronic music was created when the game was much further along. I wanted to make sure that everything would fit perfectly, so I waited until the game was further along.
So when you're doing a mix of orchestral and electronic music, is the process significantly different for both?
Well, it's definitely different. And for this one, not only is there orchestral music and electronic music, I also work very much on fusing the two together into this other hybrid of music. And it is very, very difficult to create, to use electronic music together with the orchestra, because basically they don't fit together. You don't hear that music a lot. You usually just hear orchestral with some techno beat, but you don't really hear it. Electronic music mixed with the orchestra in a really strong sense, and that's what I tried to do. There's all kind of synthesizers and everything in there. It's not just beats with orchestra. It's much deeper than that.
What kind of music kind of informs your experience, and that do you feed off of to produce your own music?
Well, I mean, I'm very inspired of the film industry. I feel that the film industry puts out amazing music. I mean, sure, there is some, generic scores in there, but it's not really that much. I think there's awesome scores coming out, and also from the independent film, great scores coming out, and it's really interesting to notice that, because those independent films, their budgets for music is much smaller than the budget we have for games, and it's just it's crazy that we can't do absolutely awesome music for pretty much every game out there. But I think most people know that game music is not quite there yet. We don't get the respect, and I can totally see that perspective, because there's a lot of game music just follows and tries to copy Hollywood. And I think we need to stand on our own and be try to go our own way and invent our own music. And that's another thing with Hitman Blood Money, mixing electronic music and orchestras and all this. I really try to do something different, and not just sound like another film score, but sound like it's like game score.
Is it difficult to develop music for a game, since it's such a subjective experience? It could go on forever for somebody. You could spend 4 hours playing a level, or you could spend 20 minutes playing a level. How do you approach that sort of element?
Well, you know what? I think creating music for games is a piece of cake. It's like everybody can do it. It's like, okay, we have some tension here, we have some suspense here, and it's like it doesn't take much to create that atmosphere, and it works in the game. But creating music for a game that's really good and really adds something extra to the experience is very difficult. And it's something that, for example, a lot of the film composers coming into the industry, they're not really adding on to that. They're just doing what they do. They treat it like a film, and it's fine. It all sounds fine, but it's like I really feel, why shouldn't the music kick ass? I mean, look at graphics, it's kicking ass, and gameplay is being tweaked to perfection. Music should absolutely kick ass too, and we're still just kind of like, where we were years ago. We're not really moving anywhere. If anything, we're just kind of like trying to do the Hollywood thing with bigger budgets and bigger orchestras. And I think we should do our own thing.
What games music do you respect?
Katamari I thought was awesome. I think the originality behind that music is just awesome. What else? I was really I don't know, impressed with Grand Theft Auto and the way they use music. It makes me want to play that game, because I want to listen to that music. I know it's licensed music, but I just think it's very original the way they use that, and it was a first. So that I have massive respect for that as well.
Cool. With the kind of sort of do-it-yourself at home things coming out with like GarageBand, stuff like that, do you feel like music is more accessible now for everyone in terms of like production and distribution and everything?
I think yes, and I think the best thing about that is that really creative music will come out of that. There are people sitting around in garages and bedrooms with equipment that they can get much cheaper now than before, and I think if you're really creative, it inspires you to do that kind of creative music if you're in that situation, and I think great music will come out of that. There's a lot of music where people have great fancy studios and work with orchestras, and every score and everything is great, but it's just not that creative, it's not that original. Games are very concerned about being original and standing out from each other. But the music, for some reason, doesn't seem to have that concern in general. There's way too much just kind of like, just do this, do this kind of film soundtrack rip-off, or do this or that. We want the Hans Zimmer sound or this or that. I mean, so I think from the bedroom guys, great music will come. But it is difficult for those guys to get a job in the game industry. It's becoming very competitive in the game industry.
Do you feel like the music in games suffer from the same problems that games themselves suffer from, in that there's a lot of sequels, there's a lot of money developed into games, so they have to be safe with the music as they're safe with everything else?
Interesting. Well, I don't really think there's a lot of generic bad games coming out. I think a trend I'm feeling is that game companies are releasing fewer games, and they are trying much harder to make awesome games. So that's a good trend, of course, but it also means that it's a bigger bet for the game company. When they only have a fewer titles, their titles has to succeed. So no, I don't. I think quite a lot of great games are coming out, but it's not the same with the music. There's still a lot of improvement that can be made there.
Cool. What are you currently playing yourself?
What am I playing? Well, right now I'm too busy to play, but I do play as soon as I can. One of my favorite games recently was the new Burnout. I thought that was absolutely amazing. Also, I'm always a fan of the Katamari. I think that's awesome. I enjoyed the new Tomb Raider, actually. I think it's really cool. I play the game I work on a lot as well. I think Hitman Blood Money is going to be pretty cool.